Queen's Domain has some pretty clear influences in Kingsfield, but I think that it will also appeal to fans of games like Morrowind as well. The biggest difference is in the movement. In Kingsfield, movement is slow, plodding. It's meant to have this feeling of foreboding, and like making a single mistake can mean life or death. In later From Software games, that would evolve to have faster movement, dodge rolls, and we're kind of halfway there with Queen's Domain. There actually isn't any sort of dodge roll from what I've played in the demo, but there are movement skills specifically tied to the weapon that you're wielding. That means that you'll be making some trade-offs depending on the weapon that you'd like to use. If you have the early sword, it has this fast thrusting attack that you can spam that moves you forward. Once you get something like a club, there's still forward momentum, but it doesn't have the speed and it can lock you in place momentarily. That can be the difference between life and death in these sorts of games. You do have the ability to swap between 3 different weapons at any time, so that can be a good way to do it. Use one weapon, swap to another. But it isn't just melee weapons that you'll be using, there are also throwing weapons. Because of the way that enemies are placed in this world, that changes things significantly. You might feel a little bit like you did the first time you got chased down by a cliff racer, especially if you haven't yet unlocked the throwing weapons at all. And it's not just flying enemies, there are also these eye beasts in high places that will laser you if you aren't careful. Queen's Domain is all about having the right weapon for the job, and if you don't have the right weapon, you'll have to improvise until you can find that. The flexibility that you have to take on all of these different situations is part of what makes the game so fun. And when I only had the rusted blade at the start of the game, I got really good at spamming the movement skill to get myself out of any situation. Each weapon changes the way that you play. You can charge up your attack to deliver a heavier attack, and even in the demo you can tell there's been a lot of love put into the game. Every item that I picked up is fully rendered in 3D. In the inventory screen, you can spin it around and take a look at it closer. There's lore tidbits attached to every item. There's even a bestiary where you can look at all the enemies in a similar way. This is a game that really understands why people like Kingsfield and other games by From Software. Of course, part of that is because their games feel good to play, but there's more to it than that. The world has this rich background to it, there's lore everywhere that you look, baked into your surroundings. It's the kind of experience that you get immersed into and ends up dragging you in for hours at a time, even if you only meant to play for 30 minutes. In short, Queen's Domain is a great example of the reason that I love games. This is an experience you don't get in any other medium, but of course, the proof is in the pudding. We won't really know whether it sticks the landing until we get to play the full game. A small concern of mine was with the bosses. The one in the demo was very easy to cheese, using movement abilities, so it doesn't even get to hit you once if you're careful, which is fine. This clearly isn't meant to be a boss that has extreme difficulty, but because they didn't showcase a truly difficult boss, we don't quite know yet whether their boss design will live up to what we've seen in the rest of the game. They've got mostly everything else nailed down, but for a lot of people the boss is where this type of game can really shine the brightest or let you down the most. And it's not just about straight difficulty or whether it's really hard, it's about how it feels to play, right? But honestly, just the fact that I'm out here comparing it to 2 of the great foundational franchises of RPGs is already a great sign. I'm not too worried about whether they can stick the landing. I'll be happy to see for myself when the game actually comes out. What's really exciting is in some of the notes on the Steam page for the game, the developer says that it has 50 plus melee weapons, of which we've only seen 4, one of which you can't even use in the demo, and 20 throwing weapons. So that vastly expands your arsenal. Considering how unique each weapon felt, it'll be interesting to see if they can keep that up with all the other weapons, or at least in how they decide to try and keep that up. They say that this game will have dozens of hours of adventuring and exploration, which is quite the lofty goal for an indie developer. Most of the games of this type are usually on the shorter end of the spectrum, with Lunacid and Dread Delusion taking 10 and 20 hours respectively. There are plenty of other examples of games like this that usually do stay within that 10 to 20 hour sort of experience. I don't mind the shorter experiences, but there's something about a long game where you get to really explore and dig deep that I find much more enjoyment from. I'm the kind of person who reads epic fantasy and plays old school CRPGs and JRPGs, so I like my longer experiences. Basically, I'm excited about this game. I think you should be too. Give the game a wish list because this one deserves it. And if you like games like this, I have a whole list of them that you can go check out. I'll link to that list in the description. Otherwise, for more videos about RPGs of all kinds, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.